Flashback 1975 and the so-called Broad Street Bullies, a collection of ragtag, toothless, tough as nails, hell on wheels hockey players bring the coveted Stanley Cup to their beloved Philadelphia. Can a season like that ever happen again? Will there ever be another team like them? And how do they rank on the all-time best list? It's your call on the Broad Street Bullies right now. Playoff time for hockey fans, so what better time to reminisce about one of the most talked about Stanley Cup winners of all time, the so-called Broad Street Bullies. This hour, we take you back in time to what some say was the greatest era ever in ice hockey. Well, at least if you're a Philadelphia Flyers fan. Hi there, everyone. How you doing? I'm Lynn Doyle, and I am delighted to have one of the original Broad Street Bullies right here in the studio with me today. You know him. Gary Dornhofer is an original Philadelphia Flyer. He was on the team for both its Stanley Cup championships. He and his teammates' aggressive playing style and the amazing amount of time they spent in the penalty box redefined hockey at the time. They became known as the Broad Street Bullies, a title that still sticks today, and they're now featured in a new HBO documentary by that same name. Dorney, it's great to have you here in the studio with us.
It's nice to be here and an opportunity to reminisce.
Let's reminisce a little bit. HBO has done this documentary on the so-called Broad Street Bullies. What was that like to be featured?
Well, having watched it, I said I couldn't believe we did those things. But you know, that's the style that we played. You know, we had a lot of passion for the game, and the fans in Philadelphia had as much passion for our team as we did, you know, playing the game, and I think the two worked very well together. When
you say you can't believe some of the things the team did, yourself included, are you talking about the physical style of play or just the general attitude that the team had? What examples can you give me?
Well, I think we were a cocky group. We knew that. Yeah. Well, okay, we were cocky.
This just in.
Intimidation was a big part in the National Hockey League. The Montreal Canadiens did it with speed. The Philadelphia Flyers did it with an aggressive style of play. And that doesn't mean fighting every game, but those things did happen. But it means finishing your check when the opportunity to hit somebody into the wall and dislodge the puck from them. That's what we did. And, you know, it wasn't 3 or 4 guys. It was everybody that did that.
How unusual is that on a team to have every single member on the same page and having the same attitude?
I think that that is a real credit to Coach Shiro. You know, he didn't really have to say very much. He had a lot of leaders on his hockey club, and he would just mention a few things, and this is the way we have to play, and the leaders made sure that everybody else got the message, and that's the way we play. But I had never been associated with a group of guys that played for one another, and the logo on their shirt. You know, it was just an unreal experience.
Take me back to when you first came to the Flyers, because you had been in Boston prior to coming to Philadelphia. So what was your first impression of this collection of hockey players?
Well, I had to look at the map and see where Philadelphia was when I first got drafted by them. Being a Canadian, you know, we have a Canadian geography, but not so much you know, what's going on in the States. And then arriving here and you know, attending my first training camp, you know, you knew a lot of the guys because you had played against them in the minors. And you know, some of them played NHL games, and we were a very small team, and we certainly weren't very aggressive, and that obviously took place a lot later on. But you know, it was a start, and I can remember the very first game at the Spectrum. There might have been 4,000 people there. And the ticket was, I think, $4.50.
Boy, those were the days, right?
A lot of people enjoyed that.
Boy, you can't buy a hot dog and a beer for $4.50 now. But when you came in, was there already that cockiness, that confidence among this team, or did it grow with each and every game?
No, I think it took a while. It happened against the St. Louis Blues, when they basically ran us right out of the building. You know, they had a lot of tough guys in their hockey club, and we were a smaller team. And at that time, Ed Snyder, who was the owner, he said, we will never, ever be intimidated by another team. And that's when he started bringing in some of the tough guys, and things changed drastically after that.
Did you have a sense that you would eventually be able to bring the Stanley Cup home to Philadelphia fans?
Not at that time. For an expansion team to be successful, it's going to take a lot of time. It's going to take a lot of draft picks. Trying to get better each and every year. But I think where the Flyers actually turned their year around was the year before the Stanley Cup. We won a series against Minnesota. And then what I remember so vividly is we went into Montreal in the next round and beat the Canadiens right in Montreal. They won the second game. So we come back to Philadelphia with a series tied. And the fans, they gave us about a 10-minute standing ovation. And if I was standing beside you, you couldn't hear what I was saying. That's how loud it was. Of course, we didn't intimidate Montreal because they won the next two games, but I think everybody on the team realized that we were heading in the right direction.
Well, of course, it helps to have the kinds of players that were on the roster at the time, yourself included, some of these names that are now Hall of Famers in hockey. I'll say a name, you tell me what it was like to play with him. Dave Schultz.
He was like a choir boy off the ice and an altogether different guy on the ice. But he knew what had to be done, and he took it upon himself that when somebody was giving one of our guys a rough time, he would step in. So I had a lot of respects for Dave, as a player and also the stuff that he did, because that's not an easy job.
You know, it's funny, we call him the Hammer, and you're saying he was a choir boy off camera. Those two images just don't seem to reconcile.
That's right, but that's the way it was, and you'd never know that Dave was a hockey player until he got on the ice. And look, he could score too. He wasn't just a fighter, but because he did fight, he got a lot of space out there, and that's what made him effective.
Bobby Clarke.
Well, when Clarkie first came to Philadelphia, and I looked at him and said, "Who is this skinny little kid?" But the guy, he worked each and every game. And I think everybody followed his lead. And even in practice, there's an old saying that you practice hard, you're going to play hard in the game, and that's what he did, and that's what we did as a team. So. I mean, he was an inspiration, considering the fact that he was diabetic, but he certainly didn't. That didn't bother him at all. The way he
certainly
played.
Didn't. How about Bernie Perron?
He couldn't stop a watermelon.
You must know he's on the line, right?
Well, Bernie. What can I say about Bernie? We used to say to him, "Bernie, how many goals you need tonight to win the game?" Just get me one, get me two, and. He was tremendous, and what made him so good is the way he practiced. He would defy you to score at him, and when you did score, he'd fire the puck at you or try to hit you with his goal stick. But that's your key position in a team as goaltender.
Sweet, mild-mannered Bernie would fire the puck at you. I just can't buy it.
Yeah, well, he didn't have a real good shot, so we kept our distance.
Well, as I said, you must know he is on the line because he is joining us now live on the telephone, the one and only Hall of Famer, Bernie Perron. Great to have you with us, Bernie. Good to have you back on the show.
Thank you. Gary was so kind. Can Gary hear me?
I can hear you, Benny.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, what do you mean, watermelon, for God's sake? Yeah. Hey, Lynn, I want to tell you something. This guy, Gary, what? If you ask me about what it was like to play on the same team as Gary, I'm telling you, it's dedication. And this man, stood in front of that took a beating and accomplished a lot of things for this team. So I'm very, very proud to have been his teammate, that's for sure.
Well, Bernie, what was it like for you to see the team brought back together and brought to life for a whole new generation of fans with this HBO documentary? It's amazing. It never stops to amaze me because it's been, 35 years. And my Lord, it's been so long ago, I think Moses was alive when we won the Stanley Cup. Who did he play for?
Those 2 years he played for us. That's why we won. But anyway, it's great. And the crowd, the people, it's incredible. I do a lot of signing with Gary and Bob Kelly before the games.